fellas, welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. The man to my right is at Ant Rivera 86, Anthony Rivera, and Christopher Murray is down below at Fuzzy Chris 91. Fellas, I don't want to start the show on a sad note, but it's including today, we've only got 3 mock drafts to go before the real deal on our Thursday, October 3rd.
I don't know if you want to call it sad. I think it just means that we're getting closer to the start of the NHL season, and that is a happy thing, right? It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be sad that it's ending. Be happy that it's happened and what comes through the end of it. That's how I'm trying to say. Glass half full here.
Yeah, we're getting closer to the hockey season. What's sad is I can only hear right now on one of my earphones. The other one is super low. This one right here, super loud and blasting. So I'm going to try to get through this. And also, I didn't even turn on my light. There we go. Let's go. Now I'm ready for the show.
There we go. All right. So he's going to be trying to do this one-eared today. But no excuses come mock time. You know, you see it all on the screen. I don't want to hear that. You're ready to rock. All right. And we did get a request to do an 8-team mock draft today. So we're going to do that. You know, we usually do 10 teams, 12 teams. We did a 14-team once, went like 240-something picks deep. Don't know if we'll be doing that again. But, you know, 12-teamer, 10-teamer. Let's do an 8-teamer today. We take your requests and we try to honor them. So that'll be fun. We also are going to do our top 10 fantasy left wings banger league going by Yahoo positional rank availability or assignments for the season. So we'll be doing that in a little bit here. Next week will be right wings. Then we'll look at awards odds. And then the next thing you know, the season's pretty much right here. So we've gotten through the summer. Fall is coming soon. It's going to be a real good time to be here on Total Hockey Now. So please rate, review, subscribe. You see all the information down below. But first, without further ado, let's see who's checking in the chat. Hey, boys, a 32-team draft for State of Survival. I would be interested in that. I don't know if I could put that together anytime soon. We need 32 people. But, you know, that is something to think about for 2025-26.
How long would that be? Would that be like 5 hours long of drafting? Like, that's got to be long.
You got to
like we're reaching for like the depths of some of these players, like probably in the AHL or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you would probably have to limit the roster positions a ton. It'd have to be like 1 center, 1 left winger. That's no the way bench. Or short or no bench, basically. Like your team's your team. But I am intrigued by that idea. There was a fantasy football guillotine league I was in for the first time last year. I love those. I need to get back in one of those. But let's get into the NHL headlines. Not a ton to go through today, but some stuff worth noting, and that's fine because we usually spend our time, take our time when we rank our top 10 for each position. First up, the Seattle Kraken and Adam Larson agreed to a 4-year, $21 million extension. The 31-year-old has only missed 1 game in the 3 seasons that the Kraken have existed while he's there. And hey, listen, he plays with Vince Dunn. You know, they brought in Brandon Montour. He'll probably play with Jamie Oleksiak. Is it a top 4 to write home about? No. Is it a bad top 4? No.
It's very Seattle.
Yeah.
That's what I look at it. It looks exactly like a Seattle Kraken team. Nothing wrong with Adam Larson's deal. We know what he brings. He's good defensively. He can eat up a lot of minutes. I don't think it's a problem. Some people think the cap high is a little bit high. The dude, like the $6 million today is the $4 million of like 10 years ago. So that's a fair deal for him. I don't have a problem with it. Good for Seattle. They need some help up front, and they've already signed some bad contracts there. But this is not one of them. This is perfectly fine with me.
Adam Larson, former New Jersey Devil, who we traded for Taylor Hall with Edmonton. And I'll tell you this, Seattle may not have the best defense, but I'm sure Edmonton would take a couple of those guys right now.
Absolutely. And Adam Larson also one of the more iconic hockey tweets of all time. The trade is 1 for 1. That right there was we all remember that one. Devils. Oh, yeah. But hey, things turn out the way they turn out, and Adam Larson's still playing while Taylor Hall is. Adam Larson plays a lot more than Taylor Hall does. So there we go with the Kraken. Next up on quick hits here. Let's talk about Nick Robertson and the Toronto Maple Leafs ending their stalemate with a 1-year, $875,000 deal. Robertson had asked for a trade not too long ago when he was unhappy with his usage last season. 56 games, 14 goals, 13 assists. The Leafs as many cheap forwards as they can get that could potentially play in their bottom six. Not the worst way to go, but interesting play by Nick Robertson there.
I don't think he stays there the whole year. I think, and I'm not the only one who sees that, it's easier to trade a player when he's under contract than when he's not, because then if you trade him when he doesn't have one, then you got to negotiate that as well, if that number fits. It's a fair deal. I guess it's just more like, hey, let's get this, and I'll still accommodate you if you don't want to be here. I do think, though, that maybe Robertson wants to play this out a little bit, because Toronto's left side is not very good. There is a spot for him there. He just has to take it. There's Matthew Nyes, Bobby McMahon, Pontus Holmberg, Connor Dewar. That this is that's nothing to write home about there, right? Sure, if you want to give Matthew Nyes the benefit of the doubt, go ahead. But that is a young left side. Somebody's got to crack that top six and stay there for a long period of time. So I don't blame Robertson for being like, hey, I want to go somewhere where I have an opportunity. But I also think he has it here and he can succeed here because Toronto has a very good top six and he's going to get a chance to play with some really good players. So, if you go somewhere else, I'm just going to take a shot here, because why not? If you're going to go play in Chicago or San Jose, are you good at, sure, maybe you'll play the top six, but you're not playing with, maybe the most talented players on the face of the earth yet, or at least not at the calibers of, I'll throw Tavares in there, but Willie Nylander, obviously, you're not playing with guys like Austin Matthews. You're not playing with guys like Mitch Marner. So I don't know. Maybe he plays it out, but if he's dead set on being hey, I want to be anywhere else but Toronto, maybe he hates the traffic, maybe there's a lot of noise in his condo downtown, then fine, I get it, but I don't know.
Somebody's barking in the background back there. They either agree or disagree. I can't tell by the tone of the bark, but nonetheless.
He has seen a dog. That is the dog bark. When he sees a squirrel, he will kind of whine at it. That is definitely one of the neighborhood dogs.
Just doing his best and protecting the house. That's all. Just letting you know what's going on out there. Nick Robertson with Toronto there. Now, other news, Sidney Crosby, the NHL's doing their annual, season hype up media tour with some of the top stars of the game. Recent interview with Sidney Crosby. He said he's, quote, optimistic about a contract extension with the Penguins. He's in the final season of a 12-year, $104.4 million deal, man. Sidney Crosby at $8.7 million. Talk about a bargain. He had 42 goals and 52 assists last season. Any chance of Sid leaving the Steel City? I don't think so. I mean, unless he's got this burning desire to lift the cup one more time, if he hasn't done, and you can never do it enough, but I mean, it's weighing out the, do you want to be one of these guys that plays their whole career at one team, is an icon of the city? If you want to talk about the Penguins Mount Rushmore, it's him, Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, and then pick your fourth, whoever you want to throw up there. But you have to start with those three. The only way I could see him actually saying he wanted to leave is if there was a world where the Colorado Avalanche had cap space and he wanted to go play with his buddy Nate McKinnon, because that would also serve the championship expectations in terms of him wanting to get one more. I just don't see it. I think Sid's gonna play his career out in Pittsburgh. If they get to the playoffs again before he retires, great, but I think he plays out the string in the Steel City.
I think there are more players in hockey that I know it's about making the money, and we talked about it last week about getting the most you can. But I think there's something to say about a lot of these hockey players that stick with their team throughout. Like you mentioned already, Lemieux, Crosby being this other one, Ovechkin, maybe McDavid would do the same thing. But I always like seeing a guy stick with his whole career with one team. I think that's a nice thing for that team and for that city as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't imagine Sid wearing another jersey than the Penguins jersey. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. Obviously the team doesn't want him to go anywhere. I don't think this contract negotiation will be really tough. I don't think he's going to look for a ton of term, right? He's going to get paid what he should get paid. I think that's fair. He has earned it. I also don't think he's going to strap the Penguins down and really make this difficult for them either. So like maybe he leaves a couple mil on the table, 1 or 2, so that way, Dubas can go out and kind of retool this team for the next generation of players that'll come in. But he's going to get his money that he has deserved. I don't think he's going to attach a real long term to it. I think this is going to be easy. It's going to be one of those things that it's just a formality to get done, and everything continues. I don't like, yes, his desire to win is probably there, but I think he understands that he could probably still do it in Pittsburgh. Like if the Penguins decided to, I don't know, stay healthy and do something good, they could accomplish that. But I can't imagine like moving your whole family now at this point and all that to do what? Go somewhere for like a chance? I don't see it. I think he stays there.
Things would have to go awfully wrong in contract negotiations. They would have to and like you said, he's not looking for a huge payday. He's probably just looking for something that's probably not even fair market value. He'll take a little below fair market value if it means bringing somebody else in that might get him to win a cup in Pittsburgh one more time. Yeah, I don't see him leaving Pittsburgh at all. He doesn't strike me as that type of guy. He just strikes me. He's been there his whole career. I think he's going to finish his career there. He'll get his victory lap around the NHL, whatever his last season decides to be probably at the end of this contract. If depending on how much term they give him, maybe 3 years, 4 years, I don't know. He's still producing over 90 points. There's no reason to think he's going to slow down. He's going to slow down, but we haven't seen a sign of it yet.
He will at some point slow down. Father Time continues to be undefeated. Sid just might drag it out a little bit longer than other players have, but I mean, as long as he can play, as long as he can score and make everybody around him better, I don't see why he's going to stop playing hockey.
Where does a Sid rank for you guys? All-time greats, I guess.
That's I mean, he's top 10. I mean, let's just start there. You want to go top 5? I don't, you really have to think about it. Or, are we going all the way back into like the Jean Beliveau era and stuff like that? I mean, that's where it starts to get dicey. But if you want to talk about since the 04-05 lockout, to me, he's the best player. It's him and Ovechkin and McDavid are probably your top 3. But I think he's got to be at the top because he's got the combination of the production and the championships, the leadership, the gold medals. If you want to factor that into. So to me, Crosby's the best player of the last 20 years.
I have no problem saying he's top 5 overall ever. Just like, is there anything that Sid hasn't won? Like, he's collected everything that he possibly could, with maybe the exception of like a scoring title, because unfortunately he had to go up against Ovechkin, who just kept winning it and scoring. But he's won everything else that needs to be won. His shelf would be full, right? Like, I have shelves here. He would need probably a couple more to hold all the hardware that he has. So he is so accomplished, and like, hockey is a team game, but it's also, when you look at how much of an influence he has in those games and everything, like, he is the guy that you can count on in any given situation, and he does it at such a high level. Like, he makes everybody around him better. He's a great teammate. Like, Chris Kunitz is a great player. No shots, but I mean, Crosby dragged him along with him for a good period of time. He got Kunitz to get him an Olympic medal. It is what it is. So to me, just everything that he has accomplished, it's so hard as well to like kind of compare players from different eras and whatnot, because now goalies are even better than they've ever been. They're bigger than ever. The systems are in place. Like, it's so hard. But to me, I would have no problem putting him in a top 5 just because of how much he has accomplished as a hockey player and continues to do so.
It'd be interesting to see all 3 at their best, McDavid, Crosby, and Ovechkin, how they would go top 3 in a fantasy draft.
Top 3, all of them. I mean, depending
at their best.
At their best, if goals are a little bit more weighted, then Ovechkin goes first. But then I would have to say probably either McDavid or Crosby at their peak. Probably McDavid. But then again, like, Ovechkin at his peak too. I mean, yeah, that's a conversation for another day. We could go around and around about that for sure. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here in terms of a contract extension. Last thing before we get to our top 10 fantasy left wings and then our mock draft number 8 later in the hour, the Professional Women's Hockey League, they made their start last year, their inaugural season. Now, much like the Utah Hockey Club, we'll find out their team names later this season. We're going to know what the PWHL's teams names are now. You guys see it right there. You see the logos and then the word marks. You got the Boston Fleet, the Minnesota Frost, the Montreal Victoire. Chris can say that better than I can. The New York Sirens, the Ottawa Charge, and then the Toronto Scepters. So interesting mix there of different colors. You know, they tried to go with a lot of different things. New York Sirens very much have like old school New York vibes with their colors to me. That looks like the old New York Liberty. So I saw somebody this week with the Ottawa Senators. It was like a combination of like the Calgary Flames and somebody else with the logo. But good stuff there. And the season's going to get underway. It'll be a 30-game season, including neutral site games. The league said the New Jerseys are still in production. It'll be available at the end of October or early November. So there you go.
They're good. I think they're good. I know that to me at least, I feel like they're a little bit basic, but I'm okay with that as well. I think they're good. I wasn't expecting a ton. And I guess maybe because I'm biased because we get to see all these NHL jerseys and the designs and logos, and maybe I'm comparing them to the Anaheim Ducks jersey. And of course, the rest in peace, the Arizona Coyotes jersey is very good for a long period of times with the China. But I think they are good. I think they're good. The names are good as well. I know some people were a little bit like, kind of torn for that. I do like the touch for Montreal, it being in French. For those of you who can't translate it, victoire is win. So the Montreal victory, if that's the word you're looking for. But these are very good. I think they're, perfectly fine logos. I would probably buy one. I would buy a Montreal one.
We'll see what the jerseys look like. But yeah, or a t-shirt for sure. But the season will get underway, and we'll talk about that here and there throughout on Total Hockey Now. But cool to see the league taking the next big step there into becoming a little more legitimate and hopefully for the long term. So let's switch gears here. Time to get over to our top 10 fantasy left wings for the season. Now, like we said before, we're using Yahoo positions. So it's, maybe your league is a little different. I don't know. But nonetheless, that's what we're going to be using here. And let's get that up on the screen. And there you see potential candidates to fill out the top 10 there. And we will fill them in as we go along here. And you see the list of names there. For me, to kick things off, in a situation where Leon Draisaitl has left wing eligibility, it was really tough for me to put somebody ahead of him. I know Artemi Panarin had a really strong year last year. Maybe a slight step back there, and then there is the contract year factor with Draisaitl. So for me, I would put him as the top left wing if you're going to draft for that position.
I guess here's the thing with winger eligibility, right? Especially a lot of centermen can play wing. McDavid and Draisaitl play together so much. I won't fault people who have Draisaitl as a winger. I personally don't. To me, he's a centerman. He is a centerman first and a winger second. So if he would be ranked first, yes, that would not be crazy. I will also make the same argument for Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes has been a centerman his entire life. Like, all of a sudden he became a winger. Like, no. But I can understand Draisaitl being at the top. There's no question about that in my mind.
Yeah, if he's on this list, you got to put him at number 1. Daily Faceoff has him as the center there, but like you said, one of the best to do it. And if he's on this list, he's got to be your number 1.
Yeah, again, going by Yahoo rankings, because that's what we've been using throughout, once we get away from the ESPN mocks. So they have him eligible as a left wing. Maybe next year that goes away. Maybe the same thing for Jack Hughes as more of a true center. But, if they're eligible there, you can certainly play them there. If you decide to hold off on centers and want to stack those and you hold off on left wings or whatever reason, that's the reason you can play those guys there. So we okay throwing Mr. Draisaitl in the top spot?
I'm okay with that.
All righty. So then there we go. So then second on the list, I had Artemi Panarin, which as far as traditional left wings go, to me, it's either him or Kaprizov as your top left wings there. I don't know which directions you guys went, but those would be the two I would consider for that spot.
I have Kirill Kaprizov in the number 2 spot. Not to take anything away from Artemi Panarin. I think last year was his first year where we saw the shot volume go up a little bit. We saw the goal volume go up a little bit. Like, is that really him though? I don't know, but it's no secret for Kirill Kaprizov. So that's where I was taking it. In a league, let's say that values maybe goals a little bit more. Not that like Kaprizov throws his weight around anymore, but Panarin's not hitting anything. So I went with Kaprizov at 2.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me between the two. I went with Panarin, one of only 9 forwards to have over 300 shots on goal last season. I think that's a big deal, especially if you're going to get a category that counts for that. He had 302 last year, so that's why I put him there. It was way above, I think, what Kaprizov had, but I had Kaprizov at 3rd. Like Chris said, he kind of is the total package because he also provides hits. He also provides blocks, which is important. But I think coming off of last year, especially when you think of just the regular season, what Panarin provided could be huge moving forward for the Rangers.
And if Lafreniere takes another step and they keep that line of Trocheck, Panarin, and him together, I mean, he had 71 assists last year, 33 of those coming on the power play, so just essentially half, a little less than that. So I mean, does he? He had 49 goals last year. Can he get to 50? Does he take a little bit of a step back? I mean, 120 points. He had never gotten close to the closest he had gotten to that in the previous season was 96 2 years prior with the Rangers. So a little bit of a step back there, but the homer in me leans Rangers. So that's why Panarin 2, Kaprizov 3 is the way I went on my list.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset of it going either way. That's how close it was for those two guys, for sure.
I'm fine with that. I will live with it. I've been outvoted.
You've been outvoted, so there we go. So no surprises here so far in the top 3 amongst Yahoo eligible left wings. So there we go. Draisaitl, Panarin, Kaprizov. So now this is probably where the list starts to maybe deviate amongst us a little bit here. So one of the guys you could consider is Brady Tkachuk or Matthew Tkachuk or Jack Hughes or even Zach Hyman, who's both left and right wing eligible. On my list, I put Brady Tkachuk because he also shoots the puck a ton, and he also is one of the biggest hitters in the league. We're talking banger league here. And listen, I know Matthew Tkachuk throws his body around too, but just Brady Tkachuk seems to just do it at a much higher pace.
Yeah, I have the same thing as well. I mean, Brady, maybe the points aren't as high as his brother. Maybe the upside playing with Florida is there for Matthew, not for Brady. But like you said, I mean, he just shoots the puck a ton. He hits everything. It's if you're in a league where penalty minutes count as well, he's gonna get a 10 misconduct at some point for running his mouth or chirping the player and getting thrown out late in the game for something. So he's a stat stuffer. He will stuff every category that you have, and you need a guy like that. It's instead of trying to piece those players together to get what he does, you can use one pick and you have that player. So I have no problem with Brady being in that spot.
As much as a homer I want to be for Jack Hughes, and I think we've talked about this a couple times already, for me, he gets moved down on the list because of health concerns, especially when it comes to, drafting top 10 in fantasy. If this guy, I don't know, he's been hurt every year that he's been in the league. So that's why I have my concerns. Obviously, he has the talent to be at the top there, at the top of the list. But right now, he is not up 4, or I don't even have him top 5. I agree with you guys. It's Brady Tkachuk. I talked about shots on goal with Panarin. He had 357 shots on goal, 4th among forwards. Big thing for him as well. Hits, right? 270. He's second among forwards in that. That's big category. These are categories you want to hone in on, especially when you're not getting the top guys in Draisaitl, when you're not getting Connor McDavid. These are the type of categories you want to hone in on. If you're not going to get the goals, the assists, that's something, and he provides a little bit of everything. So, Brady Tkachuk, number 4 for me.
Brady Tkachuk's a guy that when I'm drafting towards the end of the round and I've got that turn, I want him with one of my first 2 picks, and that's usually the case. Like to me, like Tkachuk, Makar in that area. If you match to get 2 of those, now you got something to build. Now you got something to work off of. So there we go. So no real arguments here. And I do see Oliver Phillips comment in the chat. Can you post the link for the mock draft? We'll love to join. We would love you to join too, but we don't have the mock draft link yet because Yahoo only goes about 10 minutes out. So we still need a little time here, but we will post that link in here when it is ready to rock. So top 4 here, pretty consensus top 4 amongst the 3 of us here. Is it as simple as putting Brady's brother at 5 for the aforementioned Jack Hughes injury concerns as why he would not be up there? Another guy who could make an argument at 5, I wouldn't, is Zach Hyman. I think he's coming up in the next couple, but I'd take Matthew Tkachuk over Hyman there.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
I do not have Jack Hughes ranked here because to me he's a centerman. I get that he has the left with eligibility. I tried to stay as true to this as possible, so I don't have him ranked. And there's my apologies to you, Jack Hughes. You are a centerman. So, and
this could be the last year we see him with left wing eligibility. I mean, I feel like that's one thing with fantasy hockey is some leagues it's too loosey goosey with the position eligibility, and then some of them it's like, all right, the guy has played there enough that he should have it, and it doesn't happen. So I mean, it goes both ways, but. So now we've got through our top 5. I don't think any surprises here. I don't think any arguments from anybody. If you want to swap that order around a little, be my guest. But I think that your top 5 are locked in right there. Now we get to 6. For me, this is where I know we spoke about Jack Hughes with the position availability. This is where I have him, just outside the top 5. You can put Zach Hyman there. I wouldn't necessarily have an argument with like a Philip Forsberg or an Elias Pettersson, but I mean, those are the guys in the mix here. So I don't know what you guys had for 6, but that's what I had.
You said Hughes 6?
Yeah.
I have Zach Hyman 6.
Okay.
54 goals, 3rd amongst all forwards. Pretty big there. He's going to get top line minutes, especially on the power play. You got McDavid beside him. You got Nugent Hopkins beside him. I think Hyman is going to take another, leap here, and I put him at 6.
I have Forsberg at 6. I mean, Nashville went out to get a whole bunch of weapons, and I know sometimes people are worried that you're going to multiply by divide here, but I think this takes Nashville's offense to a whole other level now. Like now you have some legitimate threats. Forsberg is adding pieces like to his arsenal, I would say, because you're going out to get guys who can make you even better. He is really good to start with. He could score goals. He could rack up points. He also takes a ton of shots. And if everybody's expectation is that Nashville is going to be a better team, then that means that Forsberg is going to be a better player as well. He just has more weapons, and he just has an opportunity to play with better players. So to me, I think he could be a player who at least flirts with 100 points. So if he's the 6th man off the board to me, in my mind, Draisaitl, Panarin, and Kaprizov could all be 100-point players. I will give Matthew Tkachuk the benefit of the doubt as well, because he can. Brady, I don't know, but he makes up for it because he shoots the puck, because he hits. So to me, the next guy after that is Forsberg. That's just who I have in my mind.
To also go off your point about Forsberg, is he produced what he produced last year as basically the only line that Nashville could really go out there. So they were getting the focus of the other team's top pairings, shutdown lines. Now, whoever Stamkos plays with on the other line in their top 6, now they're going to have to decide where to shift their attention a little bit. So I agree. I think Forsberg's production should go. I'm not going to say it should go up, but he should be right around the level he was last year, and it wouldn't be surprising if it went up a little bit. So I'm okay with putting Forsberg 6 for that reason.
Where did you have him on your top 10, Adam?
I did have Forsberg on my top 10. I had him down at, because I had Hughes in there, I had Forsberg at 8, but I think maybe that was a little low for him.
Yeah, so did I. I had Forsberg at 8 as well, and I'll go through the stats with him. Top 6 in goals, 48. Top 5 in shots on goal, 347. Over 100 hits. I mean, he's a top line guy. So yeah, definitely belongs on this top 10 list. I wouldn't be upset if you put him at 6 either. So, and I also think Chris needs one here. I mean, Chris has been giving us so much on this list so far. Let's give him Philip Forsberg.
Yeah,
Come
we
on.
got.
Hey, thanks guys for tossing me the boat here. Thanks.
All right, so we'll put
Appreciate it.
Forsberg 6. There's a lot of reasons to think that he could move up and be just outside that top 5. Or do we want to throw Zach Hyman here for all the aforementioned reasons, with being in the Edmonton top 6, the power play? No reason to think he's not going to produce at that level again this year. Everybody cool with putting Zach Hyman 7?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm excited to see him score from within 3 inches of the blue paint.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's not going to be a lot of highlight reel Zach Hyman goals. He's going to score goals the way like a guy like I might score on my Thursday night, rec league. But nonetheless, there's no style points. There's no judges going 5.6, 5.9. No.
If you don't think 3 inches is a lot, just ask Zach Hyman what he can do with that. He is just popping goals from around it. He doesn't, you don't even have to put it off his stick, put it off his body. He doesn't care how. They don't ask you how. They ask you how many. And Zach Hyman had a lot of those.
So now I think was where we're going to get a little hairy here, because you still got Jack Hughes on the board, Stamkos on the board, Kyle Connor, Alex Ovechkin. A lot of names that could be thrown into the top 10. Jason Robertson, Jake Gensel, Elias Pettersson. Where do we think about going 8 here? Because the only guys that are remaining in my top 10 that are not been ranked yet are Jack Hughes, Elias Pettersson, and I did put Alex Ovechkin 10th over some other guys that maybe people would think are more worthy. But the reason I have Alex Ovechkin in my top 10 is they're going to feed him the puck even more than they do, because they are trying to get him to that record. So he is going to, if you think he's been shooting the puck a lot in his career, wait till this year.
See, the bottom of this whole situation I was struggling with. I had Jack Hughes at 7, but I'm willing to take him out of the list because he'll be centering the line with Meyer and Mercer surrounding him. So, Ovechkin I had at 10. Like you said, he's going to be a part of both power play units. He gets over 150 hits as well. So, I mean, he's got to be on this list. And I had Carter Verhaeghe at number 9 because of the minutes he's going to get, and he's going to be playing with Barkov and Reinhart. And then I had on the outskirts Steven Stamkos, who I'm willing to throw in the top 10 there.
I had Jake Gensel here at 8. I think he is going to a very good team. He can score goals, right? He scored a lot of goals playing with Sidney Crosby. He went to Carolina, and I think he did a very good job. But again, and it's really hard to follow up. But Sebastian Aho is not Sidney Crosby, obviously. So that's, through no fault of Sebastian Aho, he's great centerman, but like Crosby makes everybody better. And I feel that's the same conversation for playing with Nikita Kucherov. Like Nikita Kucherov had 100 apples. So even if they don't play together 5-on-5, if they play on the power play together, I mean, Gensel can rip it. So Kucherov and his creativity and the way he facilitates the puck. Let's say Tampa Bay wants to load up on a top line and they go with Point in the middle, Kucherov on one side, Gensel on the other. Like, you're not stopping that line. You're hoping they don't hurt you. So I think Jake Gensel, I don't know if he's going to get 100 points, but I think he could at least flirt with 50 goals, maybe 95 points. 50 goals, 45 assists, 275, 300 shots. To me, that's top 10 worthy. That's within the realm of what you want to see.
I had him flirting in the top 10. I had him just missing out. The one argument I will make for Elias Pettersson is that we got some comments that there was some disrespect in our center rankings towards him, and I agree. Maybe a little disrespect there. He does have that left wing eligibility, true center kind of deal again, like Hughes. I think, if we're going to talk of the remaining 3 here for top 10, I got no problem with putting Gensel in there. I got no problem with putting Ovechkin in there. If we're going to take Hughes out of the argument entirely, I mean, I don't know. I think Pettersson's got to get in there, because then once you get past those guys, it becomes Verhaeghe, Stamkos, Connor, Svechnikov, Kreider, Robertson. Like they're all kind of, if you get one or the other, it's all roughly the same. So, I'm okay with those being the three we put in, and then however we rank them, we rank them.
I get it, Elias. I'm about to. Canuck fans are going to love me. I get it, but like, there's just too much inconsistency in his game right now. There's too much inconsistency. I'm sorry. And look, I'm not saying that 80 some odd points is not 89 points, 90 points is not great, but he doesn't shoot the puck a ton here. How much did he finish with last season in shots? He had he had a little bit more. 207. It's not great. Okay. There are a lot of ticks down. I get that his shooting average also came down as well. I think he's a centerman to start with. He's not a winger. And I think he played wing because they tried to get him going a little bit more. He doesn't hit, right? He doesn't block shots. He doesn't do a lot outside of if he's not getting points. And now with his shot total regressing a little bit, like if he gets 200 shots, that's good, but it's not elite. To me, elite has got to be flirt. Like, unless I know Zach Hyman doesn't have a ton of shots, but I mean, man's popping goals, right? So I'm just not, I don't have Elias Pettersson in the top 10. It's not because I think he's a center. I just don't think he is better than any of those names ahead of him. He doesn't stuff any category completely. And I can find an elite winger who can have more upside than Elias Pettersson right now.
Yeah, I'm taking Hughes, Stamkos. I'm taking Verhaeghe. I'm even taking Ovechkin. I think even Gensel. Look at the line he's on. I think I'm taking them all over Pettersson. If it has to do with left wings, for sure.
All right, the mock draft's going to go in about 6 minutes here. Link is in the chat, so make sure you get in there for that 8-team mock. There I am sitting, waiting at the 7 spot, just near the turn. I see Chris pop in at the 4. So before we go crazy with that, let's try and wrap this up here. So Jake Gensel, Alex Ovechkin are two of the guys we're going to put in here, correct? Chris,
you guys want to, if you want to put Ovechkin there, you can. I just didn't have him in the top 10. I get he's slowing down a little bit. Father Time is here. And I know he hits. I just don't think he can maintain the pace that he needs to maintain, right? I need a guy who's going to flirt with 40-plus goals, right? 90-plus points, 300-plus shots. I don't know if Ovechkin can do all that, but I think what saves him a little bit here is that he hits. But I'm not drafting Ovechkin so he can hit. I'm drafting Ovechkin because I need goals. So if you want to drink the Kool-Aid and say, hey, the Washington Capitals are going to do everything to get him to where he needs to be, I certainly hope so, because that's quite the hill you got to die on, though. But I will live with that. I will give Ovi his flowers.
All right. So as you see there, I have plugged in Gensel at 8 and Ovechkin at 10. So where are we going to put? Who are we putting at number 9? Who is your suggestion to put at 9? Because Pettersson's out, Hughes is out, so my top 10 are gone. If I had to pick from who's remaining, it would be between Stamkos, Verhaeghe, Kyle Connor. I mean, I want to put. I think I'm big on Clayton Keller this season, but I don't know if I could put him in the top 10.
No love for Jason Robertson.
He would be another guy too, but I feel like him, Kreider, you start to get they're the same thing. So how do you pick one over the other? I mean, Robertson's a little bit younger.
Kreider is not Jason Robertson.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But all right, fine. You want to make the argument for Jason Robertson at number 9 over Ovechkin?
Jason Robertson could be a 100-point player. He came down a little bit. I get it. Okay, I get it. He came down. That's fine. I also think I want Wyatt Johnson to play center, and I want Jason Robertson to be on his wing. Because I think Wyatt Johnson's going to be a better player, right? And if we expect him to take off, I hope he's dragging Robertson with him. Nothing against Rupe Hintz. Homie is hurt every second day. And I just think, yes, with the loss of Pavelski, that's going to hurt. I would like to see a line of Wyatt Johnson, Jason Robertson, and Stankoven. Maybe they're too young, so that doesn't happen because that's a tough matchup for them. But Jason Robertson can shoot the puck. I think it was a little bit of a down year for him. I get it, but he has done it before, and he has the volume to get it done again. So that's where I go. It was either him or Kyle Connor, and I don't know for Kyle Connor yet. I want to love him. I would have put Kyle Connor like 10 instead of Ovechkin, but I'll live with the consensus of the group here. So if I have to pick one, my argument is for Jason Robertson here.
All right. You sold me. And and he's one of those guys that maybe I'm overlooking a little too much. I'm not taking him in a lot of mock drafts, not out of just he's not there when he comes on the clock. So maybe a guy I'm overlooking and maybe should do a little more on. But yeah, I got no problem with putting him in the top 10. So there we go. Running through our top 10 left wings, and we'll do the top 10 right wings on Total Hockey Now next week. So make sure you tune in for that. We have Leon Draisaitl among the Yahoo eligible left wings. Leon Draisaitl 1, Artemi Panarin 2, Kirill Kaprizov at 3, Brady Tkachuk at 4, Matthew Tkachuk at 5, Philip Forsberg at 6, Zach Hyman at 7, Jake Gensel at 8, Jason Robertson at 9, and Alex Ovechkin as he guns for that record in the 10th spot. There's certainly some other guys in there that we could have put in. Tell us who you would have put in and included or taken out. We'd love to hear that. Let us know at Total Hockey Now on YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. So there goes our top 10 fantasy left wings. Now it's time for summer mock draft date here. And, we're excited to do our mocks here. We only got a few left to go. But nonetheless, we're going to be kicking off here in a couple of minutes. It's another minute till the room opens, and then it's 2 minutes until when that starts. But where are we? Are we going to focus on the left wings a little bit more today now that we've done that? Maybe somebody goes a little bit early. Be interesting to see how that plays out here.
I want an essay as to why Elias Pettersson would be in a top 10 from somebody. I also want an essay from you, Adam, as to why you think Chris Kreider and Jason Robertson are on the same planet.
They're just in terms of production, but Robertson definitely, he underproduced last year, but what they've been doing, but I think Kreider's, you talk about Father Time, Kreider plays hard. Kreider, eventually that's going to catch up with him. Early in his career, he used to miss time too. So
I'm not salty for what he did in 2014. I'm just saying he's not on the same level as Jason Robertson.
I mean, I would assume it would be both for you, wouldn't it?
It could be. It's not that do I post a meme of Carey Price running into Chris Kreider about a dozen times during hockey season? Yes, but it is completely arbitrary from that. Chris Kreider does a lot of decent things. I don't think he shoots the puck enough. I don't think he hits enough. He scores goals, but I mean the points are not there. Just not a big Chris Kreider fan in general for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, we all know why you're not a big fan of his. We know.
For a multitude of reasons. There's one big reason.
There's one massive reason, obviously, Chris. It's nothing against Chris himself. I'm sure he's a great guy, probably pays his taxes, but I'll shake his hand. But I'm gonna remind him that you got to break before you get to the blue paint.
I remembered to turn sounds off today, so very excited about that. We got about 2 minutes and change till this 8-team mock kicks off. Looks like we got a mostly full room. Here we got Anthony, myself, Chris, Bjorn, Oliver, Sean. So we're excited for that. Let's get the board up on the screen here. And let's go through the format as well. So like we said, 8 teams. It's your standard going to be 2 centers, 2 left wing, 2 right wing, 4 D, 2 goalie, and 4 bench spots, I believe.
As always, if you are in a league with plus minus, please disregard it. You don't need to worry about it. It's not important. Do not add it to your rankings.
Fair enough. All right. So about 1:20 to go. See in the chat there, State of Survival. Sorry you had trouble getting in. It's a little too late now. I don't have any control over that, but maybe we get you in there next time. We'll get that. I try to get the link out as early as possible. Can only go X amount of time because they only have the mocks.
It says Team 6 and Team 8 there's no one there. It's just
after a certain point you can't.
Yeah, they're closing out.
Yeah. So
thanks, Yahoo.
So you'll have to live vicariously here through us as we usually do. Here we've our mock drafts that we love. We are very excited to do them, and we're going to get going here in 45 seconds. Don't forget.
Did we shout out Mark Baxter in the chat?
We did not shout out Mark Baxter.
Shout out to Mark Baxter.
Vids are great. How could chicks not love fantasy? Blows my mind. Chicks do love fantasy. I just don't know any of the ones that like fantasy hockey.
Dude, I would not want my significant other knowing anything about fantasy, right? I don't have one, but if I did, I don't want her to know anything. I couldn't, like, that's the one thing that I can lie about and be like, hey, I'm really good at it. And she would be like, okay, cool. You imagine losing to your like wife or girlfriend as well, and then having to, I don't know, take out the trash and do the dishes. Nah,
Might
no
have to sleep on the couch at that point. All right, I got him off this time. I didn't have to do the countdown this time. Thank God. But yeah, here we go. 3 seconds to go. 2, 1, and let's wait for it to kick off. Anthony's on the clock at 1-1. No surprises here. We go Connor McDavid, and away we go.
Sounds
Nate McKinnon, 2 overall to Ryan. Surprise there.
I got to practice going at number 1 because it probably won't happen during the real draft.
Now, Austin Matthews going 3. I love that. If he's the guy who I'm taking at 3, or if he's there at 4 or 5, that's the pick for me. And there goes Kucherov to Chris at 4. Draisaitl, our center there. Pasternak, right wing. And now I'm on the clock. Let's see here. See, it's an 8-team format, so there'll be other guys getting back to me here. All right. I talked about him. Let's take him. Brady Tkachuk. Let's get him. There goes Panarin and Rantanen to team 8. And I'm going to take Mr. Makar on the way back. I'm going to do exactly what I spoke about earlier, getting that Tkachuk-Makar pairing. Usually it's flipped the other way around, but it was managed to do get what I needed there. 8-team mock here. Here we go.
Since this is a hits league, my apologies, man. I know I said nice things about Kirill Kaprizov, but I can't let JT Miller just not exist.
There we go. And yeah, again, 2 less teams means you have more options at positions you're not used to. So it's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing because you really don't know which way to go. So then there we go. So wrapping up round 2 after JT Miller to Chris, we had Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes. So the Hughes brothers going back to back, and Anthony's on the clock here. Let's see who he pairs with. Connor McDavid. Why not, right?
Yeah,
That's fair.
Can't go wrong there.
And you go again, so we'll see what's up your sleeve here. We looking goaltender, we looking defenseman, we're looking for another forward. 15 seconds on the clock here for Mr. Rivera. And he takes Igor Shesterkin. So he gets 2 forwards and a goalie. No blue line yet, but good top 3 there. Then Forsberg, another left wing we talked about. We had him at 6 in our rankings. Goes to McKinnon and Hughes. There goes Elias Pettersson. So Charlie, it looks like here, he's got a couple of centers and 2 of them with left wing eligibility, as Chris is about to make his 3rd pick. He took Nikita Kucherov and JT Miller so far. We'll see. I would say he's going to go defense, but we'll see.
Oh, no, a little too early for that. I'm going to take Zach Hyman here.
I like that pick. That's a good one. So yeah, you got your center, your left wing, and your right wing to start, and Hyman can play on both sides. Connor Hellebuck, the second goalie off the board, and Sam Reinert. And now my turn to go here. Let's see. So picking. It's a little too early. You know what?
Do it.
Let's go Evan Bouchard. We're gonna get 2 defensemen right away. There goes Crosby and Kreider. And now I can get my goaltender and get the pick value that I wanted a little closer to where they're going in the ADP. UC Saros, who I have slightly ahead of Jeremy Swayman. There goes Braden Point. Chris now on the clock after Roman Yossi goes. So I'm kind of happy with my build so far. Now I got to make sure. I know there's going to be more quality forwards out there with it being an 8-teamer, so that's why I'm kind of waiting a little bit. There goes Jake Gensel.
I wanted Yossi there. That's it's unfortunate.
Have our first snipe of the day.
Yeah,
from Sean.
I did mention in my tweet that I was not going to get sniped, and that didn't happen.
So Jason Robertson goes there. Bjorn's on the clock here. Let's see what he's going to do. He takes Jake Ottinger, so he gets his goaltending situation locked up. Anthony now wrapping up the 4th round and about to kick off the 5th round. Let's see what he does with his 2 picks here. So Victor Hedman 1. Unmute yourself.
Double dose of defense for you.
There you go.
All right, you guys have been watching, haven't you?
I mean, listen, you still got to play the same amount of defensemen in an 8-team draft. They're going to go a little bit earlier. We have a little bit of a stretch of green there with Hedman, Dahlin, and Fox going 3 consecutive picks, with Bjorn adding his second defenseman there. So then Mitch Marner going to Oliver P. Then Connor Bedard, strong pick there as Sean is on the clock here. Bedard is not going beyond the 4th, 5th round in both drafts. So if you're somebody that really wants him, you gotta go get him.
I just think the upside is there for him. It's so like they're going to be so bad against Chicago that Bedard's going to have to be on the ice a lot.
All right, so Bedard goes, then Swayman to Sean, and then the auto draft takes Kyle Connor, who I was looking at there. Unfortunately, is gone. So I need to make a pick here. I'm gonna get. I'll take Eichel. I'll take this. I can always move Kachuk to the left wing if I get thin there. So Aho is another guy I was considering. Kempe goes. I'm back on the clock here. Don't want to take a second goalie yet. All right, you know what? I said I made the argument to throw him in the top 10 in our left wings, and Ann agreed. Let's grab him here, Alex Ovechkin. So I'm pretty set at center and left wing to start, but I'm gonna have to in defense. I'm gonna have to start focusing on the right side though, real soon.
Oh, I'm gonna take a goalie. It's about that time for Andrei Vasilevsky.
And that's about a spot where if you want to wait on goaltending and you don't want to get caught up in that first 5 there that tend to go, which is Shesterkin, Hellebuck, Saros, Swayman, Ottinger, you can wait and get Vasilevsky, and you're not going to regret it. He's going to get the bulk of the workload. And when you look at the numbers he put up last year, that was, he didn't play for almost 2 months. So factor that in as well. After Vasilevsky, Tage Thompson and Vinny Trocheck go. Ant's on the turn now to wrap up round 6. He takes Joel Eriksson-Ek. He's a center that goes below the radar a little bit. For Ant's second pick here, see what he does.
Let's see. Tough decisions here. Gonna go Sergachev.
That's one of my blue line guys. Sorry to see him go, but listen, you can't go wrong with that. You got a pretty strong defensive core there with Hedman, Dahlin, and Sergachev. That's a pretty that's gonna probably be one of the better ones trotted out there. Although we'll see who Bjorn adds because he's got Hughes and Fox. He decides to take Alexander Georgiev. There goes Noah Dobson. That's Oliver P's first defenseman. Certainly not he waited and he still got Dobson. That's not a bad D1. Chris gets Wyatt Johnston, then goes Steven Stamkos, Sergei Bobrovsky, and now I am on the clock. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do here. You know what? Yeah, Svechnikov is still here. I think I got to take him and shore up. He could play left or right side. I get both. There goes Stu Skinner and Dougie Hamilton. I'm kind of torn here on what I want to do. Do I really want to? Yeah, you know what? I got UC Saros, who should get a lot of wins and he'll get a lot of playing time. Definitely banking on a bounce back for this guy, but as a goalie too, I will gladly take Ilya Sorokin. There goes Charlie McAvoy after me, so that's the first defenseman for Team 8. There goes Clayton Keller, and I think Chris might have been sniped again.
Not particularly. I'm trying to decide if I want to take this player or not. I'm assuming good things will happen. And you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Jesper Bratt, there he goes.
I like that.
All
I like that move.
He gets a little overlooked among the wings. He's in that like second tier, we'll say. Maybe in the middle or bottom, in the middle of that second tier, upper end of that second tier. But yeah, certainly in the what is that there? The 8th round. That's pretty good value for Jesper Bratt. There goes Sasha Barkov and Miro Heiskanen. Ant gets Jacob Markstrom there. I was considering him too. I'm going to bank on the Sorokin bounce back. But if you don't believe in the Sorokin bounce back, then Markstrom's a good guy to take around that spot as well. As Ant is about to make his second pick here. He's got both goalies and 3 defensemen, 2 centers and a wing. And he gets Carter Verhaeghe, who also has the left wing eligibility.
Yeah. We talked about him. wanted him in the top 10. Didn't make it, but I think he's up for a good year here and getting top line minutes.
I feel like some axes are being grinded with some of these picks here. Like I didn't get him in. I didn't get him in my top 10, but I'm going to pick him now. So let's see. Bjorn on the clock here, waiting on his pick. 3, 2, 1. It looks like he's going to. Devin Taves goes. Okay. So he's got his 4 defensemen there. 2 strong centers, but only Forsberg on the wing. There goes Thatcher Demko to Oliver P. That's his first goaltender off the board. Let's move the draft board down a little bit.
I like this man a lot.
Matt Boldy. There you go. He doesn't get enough credit or respect. I agree. I am on the clock after John Tavares and Joseph Wall go. I know Besser's there, and I need to get some more presence on the right side. Timo Meyer gets hits, and we all know that he played hurt last year. He's going to be healthy this year. Let's take him right before the turn. There goes Freddie Anderson and Gustav Forsling. Let's see here. We talked about the Seattle Kraken earlier. Brandon Montour is going to be a big part of that there. For a D3, there's a couple of guys I could consider. The other guy would be Moritz Seider here, but I'm going to take Montour. And goes Mackenzie Wagar to team 8 on auto pick. And then there goes Moritz Seider. So we couldn't go wrong with one of those two there. And as we move along here in the 10th round, Chris back on the clock. Sean getting his 3rd defenseman there. Yossi, Morrissey, and Seider. A lot of strong top 3 defensive combos here so far. There goes Kevin Fiala to Chris. So 3 straight rounds of picking wings for Chris. Hasn't really looked at defense yet. So interesting what Chris is going opposite today of what he normally does.
The green has started to roll, and I have pulled a page out of Adam's book. I am behind.
Yes. I usually have 1 defenseman before I fall behind. You have no green.
To be fair, all of the defensemen that I wanted have been taken. So
it's going to be interesting to see how you handle the next few rounds here. If you're going to just try and fill it out, or if you're just going to deal with whatever falls to you in the later rounds. There goes Brock Besser, who I was considering, but I got to have Meyer over him just because Besser gets hurt. He's going to miss time. There goes Marchessault with Anthony's first pick. He gets it. We don't really talk, all the Nashville stuff that happened in the offseason. Marchessault almost gets overlooked a little bit, but he's going to be a big contributor there. There goes Matthew Barzal. Cole Caulfield to open around 11 here. We got 16 rounds total, so 5 to go. This draft is flying. There goes Linus Olmark to Oliver P. So he's got a Demko Olmark combo there. We'll see what he's only got 1 defenseman, so he's 1 ahead of Chris. Is there a defenseman Chris likes enough to take there? And yeah, you got to take Morgan Riley at that point. You got to have 1.
I just want to point out I don't like Morgan Riley. It's just that's where we are in the draft.
Let's see here. I'm on the clock here. I like Morgan Riley. For a fantasy perspective, I end up having him on my team a lot. So, I'm very familiar with him, and he's an old chum at this point, an old friend. All right, I'm gonna go Ryan Nugent-Hopkins here because I do want a piece. I always want to have a piece of that Edmonton power play in top 6.
Got it.
So there it is. And I'm back on the clock there. There goes Vince Dunn and Matthias Ekholm. Still some quality wingers on the board.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get my 4th defenseman out of the way here, and Chris is going to hate me. There we go. Oh, and there goes Shea Theodore, too.
All right, boys, calm down here. Okay?
I have my defense set. Makar, Bouchard, Montour, and Faber. I am very happy with that.
Oh, you did that on purpose, didn't you?
Not totally on purpose, but kind of.
Don't believe it. I will take the next best option, I guess. That'll be
Zach Werenski. You end up with him almost every draft. Then goes John Carlson to Oliver P. Another guy you could have considered there. Travis Konechny gets overlooked a little bit there in Philly, but still going to be playing on that top line and is a consistent producer fresh off that big contract. So I've got a couple of guys that I've got my eyes on here for when it gets back to me. We'll see if that happens here. We've got about 4 rounds to go here as we are in the wrapping up the 12th round. Now in the 13th round as Anthony takes Philip Hronek to close it out. Decisions here. Then he goes with
man.
Brandon Hagel, that's always your guy. And then Dylan Larkin is a guy I was hoping that might have gotten back to me. We had that short recently about how he provides that value, even though he gets overlooked a little bit. Not one of the top centers, but consistently produces, and he's going to be on that top 6, on that top line, I should say, and in the top power play unit with Kane. We see Aiden Hill, Brent Burns, and Rupe Hinsko, as I am now on the clock. Let's see. All right, I'm going to grab. Let me Seth Jarvis. I'll take that. There goes Nick Suzuki and Blake Coleman. So I've got 3 bench spots to go here. I don't love what I got. I'm not thrilled of what I've got available here. So I'm just going to take a guy that I think is in for a big year.
Okay.
That might have been a minor snipe on Chris. Not intentional.
Not completely. I need defensemen. So
okay. You can't really look. Yeah, you're shopping in a different department right now.
Yeah, I'm in a completely different aisle here. I'm probably not even in the same type of store. You guys are in a grocery store, and I'm in like a hunting store.
There goes Bo Horvat, a guy who can get later in drafts. That's still going to be a really good center. Kind of like in that Dylan Larkin mode. There goes Erik Karlsson, Drew Doughty, Patrick Kane, and Ants back on the clock to make one of his last 3 picks here.
Get some defense here. Get at least one more for the bench.
Mike Matheson, I'm surprised Chris didn't take him instead of Karlsson, but I guess Karlsson's still there. You got to grab him.
And let's see. I'm going to take a goalie and do a little bit of a tandem here and take Jake Allen. Very much reaching, but when Markstrom gets a day off, I could just plug in Jake Allen, have someone playing every day.
I don't mind when you get in the tandem, especially in a situation like the Devils, where they're probably going to rest Markstrom a little bit. Like, they're going to play him, but they're not going to make him a workhorse by any stretch, because that's not what you want to do with him. Let's see. I got a couple of picks. I got 2 picks to go here, so I got to make the most of it. I'm going to take a third goalie here. I know there's not a lot of bench spots, but you always like to have a little insurance in case somebody's hurt. So I'm going to take Darcy Kemper there. And then it goes Jordan Binnington. And then I think I'm pretty well, I got a good mix up front at forward. Love to have a bench defenseman to put in. So this is not a shot at you by any means, but I am going to take one last defenseman here. And that is going to be Mr. Noah Hannafin. There goes Kochetkov there for a second goalie for Team 8, or third goalie, I should say. Jacob Trouba goes. We know Chris was not going to take Jacob Trouba. He gets his 4 defensemen over his last 5 picks. Let's see what he does with his last pick is Thomas Hertl, which is a guy he's been grabbing in multiple drafts. You got 3 more picks to go here.
It's not bad, but it's not perfect.
I don't think you're not going to be in a good mood for the team recaps today. There goes UPL and Ilya Samsonov with Anthony.
A lot of you have been listening, so that's good. I'm like a proud dad.
And then Nico Hischier, which is weird to see him be a last pick of a draft, but hey, that's an 8-team league. That's what happens. And he was a guy I was considering too, but yeah, certainly not a bad way to go last pick of the draft. So without further ado, let's go with the team recaps. And Ant, you picked first, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, let me make this screen a little bit bigger here. All right. Yeah, obviously, you go Connor McDavid number 1. There's no other choice. So you got to go McDavid. The fact that Kaprizov got to me at number 2, I like. But like you said, 8-team drafts, something like some things like that happen. So I'll take that. Igor Shesterkin as my top goalie. Then I went back-to-back on defense. Victor Hedman, Rasmus Dahlin. Thanks to Chris and everything that he has waxed poetically about Rasmus Dahlin. Had to take him there. Joe Eriksson Ek as well as my top 2 centers with Connor McDavid, Mikhail Sergachev, Jacob Markstrom to round out the goalies. Obviously, later on, I got Jake Allen to make that little tandem there. So there's no days off. Carter Verhaeghe, I waxed poetic earlier today. had to take him as well. Jonathan Marchessault, I like on that Nashville line with Novak as well as Stamkos. So I think that they're going to do some good things. That line may end up being the top line at the end of the season. So I like that line together, and that's why I took Marchessault. Cole Caulfield, as well as Philip Hronek, rounding things out. Brandon Hagel, Matheson, like I said, Jake Allen, and then I assume that's Heischer's spot right there where it says on the clock. Yep, Heischer to round it out. Needed an extra center.
Pretty strong team there. You got a good mix. I like your balance. I like everything you got there. Before we get to Chris's team, we usually do one team. So over Philip there, thanks, lads. Would love to hear thoughts on my team. Well, good segue there because we always do one viewer team, and you requested the 8-team format, so there you go. So here we go. Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, who does have left wing eligibility, and so does Elias Pettersson. So
love it.
Definitely good start there amongst those three, especially continuing with the left wing there, Jason Robertson. So Jason Robertson in the 4th round. That's pretty good. You got Mitch Marner in the 5th round, right wing there. So roster's filling out. Tage Thompson also has right wing eligibility. So again, just going heavy on offense with the forwards there. You almost got a little risky there. Luckily, Noah Dobson was there to be a top defenseman. So you have that anchored there. Barkov, good value pick there. Maybe getting a little too heavy at center at that point. Maybe you were hoping, and Demko is not a bad way to go in terms of the goalies there because Markstrom's gone and all the top ones are gone. I will say if you're going to take Demko, and maybe instead of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen there or Luukkonen, excuse me, maybe you take Artur Shilovs there because you may want that Canucks goalie tandem. So that might have been a way I played it there. Linus Ullmark's going to get a ton of saves. Stützle plays left wing as well. Tippett, I believe, has both left and right wing eligibility. So maybe a little bit, you got some good stuff on the right side, maybe a little thin there. If you get an injury, you could be in trouble. Pretty good blue line there with Doughty, Carlson, and Dobson filling it out. So,
For starting the defense so late, getting Noah Dobson at the point that he did, that's pretty good there. John Carlson, hopefully he stays healthy. Chris Letang as well. Drew Doughty, man, that's a solid defensive line there. These are guys that get you points, and I like it. I like what I see here.
The goaltending is going to be questionable. Oliver. Let's be on. Let's look ourselves in the mirror here. We have Thatcher Demko with a bum knee. We got Linus Ullmark, who's on a terrible Ottawa team. And Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is doing the best that he can with what he has. So that's definitely going to be the struggle there. But offensively, your team will definitely drag it. You have basically built the Edmonton Oilers. That's what you've done. You have built the Oilers, which is heavy up front. Defensively, it's good. It's good. Noah Dobson, John Carlson. I feel like John Carlson gets slept a lot. Even though Jacob Chychrun is there, John Carlson is still on the top power play unit no matter what. Drew Doughty is still a breathing body. Chris Letang, as long as he doesn't get hurt, like he's there. And then, your goaltending should be fun. That should push some gray hairs into your, hair.
Shout out to I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to just say shout out to Lucio Mancuso. He was the one that requested the 8-team draft. He's got his draft in 2 hours, so he's doing a little prep work with us.
That's right. Listen, we try to deliver. If you got required, we've got 2 mock drafts to go here. So I plan on doing a 10 and a 12. So if anybody's got any preferences there, we'll see. Let's see. Oliver's chiming in. High upside goaltending, lads. I'm in Vancouver. Demko will be back. I hope so, man. But yeah, if Demko is back, now you're okay. Now in a league where saves are a category, or maybe they're weighted a little bit, that's where maybe Linus Ullmark comes in as a good goalie too. There, it's not going to get you the wins, but it'll probably get, and maybe not the goals against, but we get you a few of the other things as well. So now we go to Chris's team, the moment we've all been waiting for here.
This explains a lot, though, Oliver, the Elias Pettersson and stuff like that. I guess we see that differently, but it's good to know. I'll wait for your hate tweet later. What did I draft here as my team here? Okay, so I did the best that I could with the, with what I had here. I think to me, getting Nikita Kucherov there was obviously important. JT Miller, he hits, he racks up points. He is the 1C in Vancouver. He can also play the wing. Don't get it twisted. Zach Hyman, obviously, I'm a big fan of Zach Hyman as long as he picks up the points and everything that he needs. Then we go, Connor Bedard is still, Zach, I'm sorry, Jake Gensel. Obviously, somebody's got to pick up points there. So the pairing of Kucherov and Gensel made me very happy. Connor Bedard is the most elite player in that Chicago lineup. I can't believe you guys keep letting me get Andre Vasilevsky at a discount. I feel like I'm buying, I'm at the thrift shop and I'm finding like a Gucci belt for like $4. Wyatt Johnson, because I think he's going to be fine. The wing position here, we're going with the upside here. Jesper Bratt, Matt Boldy, Kevin Fiala. I still think Fiala can be like a 35-plus goal scorer. He just has to figure it out in LA. Maybe the loss of Victor Arvidsson gives him a little bit more opportunity. Matt Boldy to the moon here. I really feel like Minnesota. Their depth lacks. I do, man. Matt Boldy's going somewhere. If you don't get Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy's the consolation prize. And Jesper Bratt, I feel like he's there, but nobody talks about him. Morgan Riley, don't love the pick, but I needed a defenseman because all of you were taking the ones that I had. So thank you for listening. I hope I'm in none of those drafts. Zach Werenski kind of gets forgotten here. There's a lot of upside with Werenski. He's not there to play defense. He's there to do everything else but that. Aiden Hill was still around, and last time I checked, he's starting for Vegas, who won a Stanley Cup not too long ago. So that's pretty good there. Erik Karlsson, again, exists. So, I mean, he's like, he once had 100 points. So I'm not expecting that, but if you give me like 60, Eric, like that'd be kind of fun. Jake Sanderson, my assumption is he's going to be on the top power play unit in Ottawa. And I'm hoping that's true so I can milk that as much as possible. And then getting Thomas Hertl at a discount here. Like, even if Jack Eichel's the first centerman, like Hertl is still going to get a chance to play. And I like that. And he's surrounded by some good players. So let's see what a full year of Thomas Hertl does.
That's a good team.
It's a good team, although I'll say the three straight, Bratt, Boldy, Fiala, one, I think you got to grab, maybe Heiskanen instead of Bratt there or one of the defensemen. I'm never going to fault you for taking Boldy, but I think that's kind of where, like, you had to get one of those, maybe a Sider or a Mac. We couldn't get McAvoy, but like a Montour, somebody different than one of those three. That's how I would have played that.
I was looking at Dougie and Charlie McAvoy, and then those players went, and I was like, you know what? I guess we're waiting next round. And then next round, nothing really happened. And I was like, Matt Boldy's standing here. So I can't let him go. And then a run of 4 defensemen happened. And I was like, well, now I'm tilted. So I'm just going to grab another forward. That's how that went.
Bing, bang, boom, boom. There you go. My team will get to your quick. We'll get through quick here. So I talked about how I love when I'm at that turn late in the first round to get the Kachuk Makar. That's usually more of like a 10-team thing. Or even a 12-team thing sometimes, but I made it work here for the 8-teamer. Then Bouchard's sitting there in the third round. Could have gone a lot of ways, but hey, if I can have those, my top 2 defensemen being 2 of the top 5, sure, why not? Yeah. Coming around here, so then the goalies start to go. I don't usually like to get away. I don't usually like to leave a draft without a top 5 goalie. We'll even throw Vasilevsky in there, but I want one of those 6 guys to be one of my top guys. So I'll do what I got to do to make that happen. Eichel's not a guy I've been getting in a lot of mocks, but I mean, you can't go wrong with that and him right there. So I got a strong center punch right there out of the gate. Then I address my wing spots with Ovechkin and Svechnikov there. And then Sorokin to be the goalie 2. That could be a steal of a pick in the 8th round if Sorokin even gets close to where he was 2 years ago. And then Meyer. So I felt like I had my centers and I had to go wing heavy. Then it's like, all right, it's time to build out the blue line a little more. I felt like I had waited a little while for that third spot, for the third D spot. At that point, Hamilton, McAvoy, Heiskanen, Taves, all those guys starting to go. Once Forsling goes in front of me, I got to take Montour or Sider there, and I'm glad I did. Not so much for Chris. And then we move it down here. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in the 11th round. Sure, like I said, I always want to walk away from every draft with a piece of somebody from the Oilers. Up front. I had Bouchard, and now I had Nugent-Hopkins, so I'm happy with that. Brock Faber was a guy that maybe if I don't take him, somebody else would have grabbed him. I'm pretty sure Chris would have taken him instead of Werenski. Knowing that's coming, I said, let me get my 4th defenseman there. I said, he's going to be the straw that stirs the drink for the Wild from the blue line. And then just rounding out here with some good picks, Jarvis, Lafreniere. We talked about the expected increase for him. And Yahoo's telling me it's time to wrap it up, but I can bring it up on my other screen.
Yeah, bring it.
I can
Bring it
bring
back
up.
up.
That
I like the
defense group
defense.
is disgusting. You should have not. You should have not been able to get all 4 of those players.
That's
that
fantastic.
that is wild.
And
that is a whole lot of
you know,
upside on that blue line.
I'll say this about the back end of the draft. When you miss out on those top 5 players, top 6, that back end of the draft, if you're getting Brady Tkachuk and Cale Makar, I think that's the best of the back end that you could possibly get. We already talked about Brady Tkachuk today and why you should be taking him. Cale Makar, best defenseman, right? Consensus. We were already consensus on that when we did the top 10 defensemen. I like that. And then to round it out with Montour and who else you got? You got Faber, and I like that. When it comes to the left wing and right wing eligibility, I always have Brandon Hagel and Alexis Lafreniere like ticked off. Like if they come back to me, I'll take one of those 2 guys. But I like it, man. Good stuff.
Thank you. I'm actually, this is probably one of the mocks I'm most happy with coming away with here that we've done all summer. And I have to make the case for Darcy Camper. And listen, I get it. You know, like is he the best goalie in the world? No, but he's about to go to a team that plays a very strong defensive game with the Kings. He's going to a much better situation than he had. You know, I could see it being like a 60-40 workload with him and Riddick, but if he plays well, he's just going to get more and more of that crease share. So
isn't he a Stanley Cup champion?
He sure is. I mean, with the Avalanche. So and listen, it was trading one problem contract for another. You know, with the Pierre-Luc Dubois Kemper trade, we talked about that however many episodes ago. But I think Kemper's in a good situation, and I think if you're looking for that second goalie late or a good bench goalie, because you know one of your top guys, you know, like maybe like Thatcher Demko, okay, you selected him. If you're not going to take the Shelov's handcuff, maybe you make sure that you invest in making sure that third goalie is somebody that, okay, if he gets hurt, I don't take too much of a step back in the goaltending department. So really happy with this draft. 2 more mocks to go before our league kicks off with that draft on Thursday, October 3rd. So good stuff there, boys. That was a good one. We made it happen.
Honestly, I feel like the less teams there are, it's kind of a little bit harder because now you're still choosing from some of the best players, and you want to make sure you get, you know, the best one possible. Whereas more teams, you know, those players tend to not be there at the end. So it's a lot tougher to choose. Like me getting Nico Hischier last there, there was other decisions that I was trying to make as well.
No, I know what you're saying. Because like, you know, when you get deeper drafts, you know, the guys that become available in the later rounds, like we say, that's where you take your shots on guys you have a hunch on or you have a good feeling about. But you also feel less bad about missing in the 12th round in a 12-team draft because of the pool at that point. But if you miss in the 12th round in an 8-team draft, that could be a little more devastating. So that's why, you know, the decisions you make carry a little bit more weight.
Yeah. And that's why I think guys like Michkov, who I had queued up as well, Celebrini, I feel like they won't go in those, you know, smaller team drafts because you're going to want to take something that's more concrete with your roster. And that's why I went Hischier over Michkov there at the end.
That is the one perk of an 8-team league, though, is that the waiver wire usually is going to have a lot more in terms of injury replacement options, or like if you know, certain guys you're not crazy on, you know, you can stream a little bit more and you don't have to run the risk of like, okay, there's really nobody out there for me to pick up. So you have a little bit more flexibility there.
Yeah.
I still wish I would have gotten Brock Faber or some of those defense. There's 8 drafts. I've had Cale Makar just once. I'm trying so hard and I'm not getting where I need to be.
You were 4th, man. You were up there.
I know I was 4th. I got greedy there. I wanted a top player.
Adam's just taking all your defensemen. I'll take
you guys have been studying. You guys have been studying. I don't like this.
Take Faber.
You guys are good students.
I mean, it's also just knowing your league. Like the example I'll provide is, you know, I'm in one fantasy baseball league, but I am in that league with a ton of Met fans. So I either grab somebody with the full intention to flip them for a little more than they're worth, or I just know like, hey, let those guys all draft Mets. I'm not going to waste my time even looking at them or overdrafting them. So, you know, I knew Chris is coming up. So I'm like, he's going to take defenseman. I want to have a strong blue line. That's something that I like to build my teams around. So sorry. Yeah, but that's with knowing who's in your league.
Man, being a Met fan, there's only about like 2 or 3 people you should be drafting. If you're drafting more than that, I mean, Come on.
Fair enough. But nonetheless, I mean, there are guys that do get drafted. I mean, hey, Francisco Lindor, MVP season, no?
Yeah. Although last time he wasn't doing too well last season. That's why I would have stayed away from him now. But hey, turned it around. I mean, he was batting .089 in April. I mean, he really turned it around.
As the Mets go for that wild card berth down the stretch, you can check out the Subway to Shea podcast there. Ant's got you covered with all the news from Flushing, Queens there. Slapshot podcast, second episode of the season, I believe, just came out. What are we covering on that one, Chris?
Absolutely. I played Wordle. Sorry, not Wordle. I played Puck Doku again. It didn't go any better, so we don't need to remind me about it. I think I got worse. I know nobody from the WHL. That's what I learned in that. And then we looked at the Montreal Canadiens lineup and why they could possibly, hypothetically, be a playoff team. If every I is dotted and every T is crossed, a little bit more love here for them.
There we go. So check it out over there, Slapshot podcast. That's been coming out, I believe, on Tuesdays lately.
Tuesdays, correct. Once you're done with Monday footballs and everything and you want to cry, let's cry together on Tuesday. If you tell me who your favorite team is, I'll say something mean about them.
And speaking of football, Rip and Riff going on right now. New episode over there on the Rip and Riff YouTube channel. Jared and I talk plenty of football there. We talk about our respective Jets and Giants and their week 1 performances. And I opened up some football cards, and it's a good time. And amongst the football teams on this show, only one of our teams won this weekend because my Jets lost, his Falcons lost, but Ant's Cowboys won. So there you go.
They won, and they signed the quarterback to the biggest contract of all time, which is probably, good for him. Good for Dak because, make that money. We talked about that before, but definitely not the highest. Should not be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
That's just the trend of contracts lately. Like whoever the highest paid is at your position, you want to beat that contract. It doesn't it's getting out of control.
Does he make more money than the entire Anaheim Ducks roster?
Potentially.
Right.
That would make sense. I was going to say for the Arizona Coyotes, but they don't exist anymore. And new Utah owner there, spends a little bit more money. So we can't poke fun at the Coyotes anymore, but I'm pretty sure Dak now makes more money than, I know his payroll is higher than the Oakland Athletics, but they don't roster anything. And the Anaheim Ducks don't look like they got a ton going on there. Maybe also higher than San Jose. San Jose doesn't have any pricey free agents anymore. No,
not really. That's what we're trying to take on is those bad contracts, but we'll see. And yes, don't forget, you can also reach out to us, totalhockeynow@gmail.com. Let us reach out to us there. If it's not on social media, that's another way you can get a hold of us. But that was fun. That was fun today, boys. That was a good time today.
Maybe someone will ask for a 3-team draft, just the 3 of us.
You know what? We could potentially do that once the season gets going. We'll do like a little 3-teamer on Underdog or something like that. That is not, for sure. We can absolutely do that and have a little fun. But for @AntRivera86 and for @FuzzyChris91, I am @Pucking Thoughts. We're here with you today, Wednesday. She'll be back Thursday next week, same time, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, with another mock draft. And we'll look at the top 10 right wings for our rankings. But thanks for watching. Be back with you next week on Total Hockey Now.